Hello fellow astrologers, welcome back to the next video in our Astrology Keyring Fundamental series. In this video we're going to be talking about Aries the Trailblazer. In the last video we talked about all the signs in general of the Zodiac. But in this video we're going to focus specifically on Aries itself. We're going to talk a little bit about what Aries is, look at the sign breakdown and go over some of these clickable links, talk about how it all interacts in the key ring, and then we'll come back and look at all the keywords. Aries the Trailblazer. Aries is the first sign of the Zodiac, the spark of raw energy, courage, and unfiltered ambition. Known for their pioneering spirit, Aries types are natural-born initiators, unafraid to leap into the unknown. Ruled by fiery Mars and aligned with the cardinal modality, Aries embodies motion, drive, and independence. They thrive on challenge, prefer directness, and often lead by doing. Whether charging ahead on a new idea or fighting for a cause, Aries energy demands action. Yet their impulsiveness can lead to burnout or conflict if unchecked. When balanced, Aries brings bold leadership, vitality, and fearless authenticity into the world. So like all of our videos, we have a bunch of clickable links that will take you to the Google search for the topics if you click on the words, or you can click on the videos for each one of these topics, just like this one. So let's look at the sign breakdown here for Aries. Aries' birth range is between March 21st and April 19th. So this is the birth range for sun signs. If you were born in these dates, your sun sign will probably be Aries. Every once in a while it dips a little bit over to the other ones because of the way things work with like daylight savings. But for the most part, they almost always fall in between these dates. Now, you could have an Aries Mars or an Aries in another planet, and it would still have a lot of these properties, but it would pertain to what that actual planet's meaning is. If it's Mars, it'll be your action planet. If it'll be Jupiter, it could be luck and benefiting and greater expansion. It all just depends on that flavor, and we'll discuss that more when we get into planets and interpretations. But let's look at the rest of the sign breakdown. Ruling planets, Mars. So Mars is the ruling planet of Aries. It is very assertive. It talks about more of your assertive side of yourself as opposed to your receptive side, which would be Venus. And Aries is that. It's very assertive. Granted, we'll get more into detail about what Mars is when we talk about the planets in the D section. Mars also corresponds to the first house, which is the house of self. As you can see here, Aries, the first house, Mars, and cardinal fix all starts right here. The first house is always right here in this part of a chart. Now, it isn't always Aries because sometimes the ascendant moves around, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we discuss houses. In video E0 from the E series, when we're discussing how all the houses work. But Aries is the first sign of the Zodiac, and its typical position in house is right here. You could also look right here. We have it color-coded, just like the colors here, where you see element and modality. And in the symbol here, we have the fire element and the quadruplicity of cardinal highlighted, so you can see that these two make up what an Aries is. No other two signs share that. But if you want to look at the other signs that have cardinality, you can see where they link. And if you want to look at the other elements that are fire, you can see there. And if you look right here across here, it's the cross reference that shows you all that same detail right here. That's a good touch on Aries. Let's go ahead and go back and talk about those keywords. So whenever we talk about specific details as opposed to broad generalizations like an element or a modality or sign in general, when we're specifically coming to the sign itself or one of these planets, We always like to talk about the key words that are things that can let you think about what it is. And we brought them up before when we talked about elements and modality, but now we're going to get into them with the signs themselves. We always like giving you some general keywords, some positive ones, and negative ones so we can keep it in balance. So let's go ahead and read those. General keywords: leadership, action, energy, identity, courage, and beginnings. Positive traits: brave, passionate, assertive, motivated, pioneering, confident, energetic, and independent. Negative traits: impulsive, aggressive, self-centered, short-tempered, reckless, competitive, impatient, and restless. So these are all some great keywords for the sign of Aries. To give you a little idea of some things to think about. Now, granted, some of these keywords might cross-reference with some of these other signs because they may share a modality or an element with something, and they may have one or two of these keywords that are similar, but that's part of what makes up an element and a modality. These keywords can be redundant sometimes, but it gives you a good idea of what the combos together turn into. So that pretty much covers Aries the Trailblazer. Stay tuned for the next episode, C2, where we talk about Taurus and all the connections it has. We hope you have enjoyed this video from our Astrology Keyring series. If you like the content, please like, follow, and share with your friends. Thank you for watching, and have a blessed journey.